I was going to say Robbie Anderson did okay, but he's in jail. or he at least got arrested and was in jail.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that you are back for another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football, and it's with the Voncast. It's me, the D.O.N, Don Chrisman, here with your fan favorite, Vinny Gonzalez. Vinny, how are we doing tonight, dude?
Pretty good, man. It's pretty early for a Voncast in the season, but might as well hit our stride now.
Yeah, dude, we are not drunk enough for the Voncast.
Not at all.
Everything that no one's anticipating, especially us, the two most aimless of all. So that's who's here. First, we just want to do a quick shout-out to Vupiq. It's the revolutionary app that allows you to play fantasy football live while watching the game on TV. You can predict the plays, the result of the play, and literally play fantasy football. You can sign up for the beta now by going to letstalkfantasyfootball.com/Vupiq. What we're going to go over for this podcast is we're going to go over the first half of the AFC East preview with some NFL news. For this one, we're going to do the Jets, which I know you're all excited for. And we'll follow that up with the Patriots. Don't forget, you can get us on Android and iOS apps now live. letstalkfantasyfootball.com/Apple and letstalkfantasyfootball.com/Android. First off, let's start it off with the New York Jets, man.
Yeah, starting this podcast off the way it'll be, a complete dud.
A complete dud. I know. Not only were you not anticipating the Voncast, but I'm sure you were not anticipating starting off with the New York Jets.
We might as well just get it the fuck out of the way, and at least we're hitting the Patriots in the same cast, so that'll have some value.
The first division of this year, and it's going to be the Jets that we started off with too. It's the right way to hit it. All right, man. I know we've hit a few going into ADPs because that's what we've kind of tinkered with to start off our fantasy season on Let's Talk Fantasy Football. You've heard the names of Bilal Powell, Matt Forte, but we're going to kind of go through a few here as well. But overall, Vinny, we have here that it's a fantasy wasteland. Do you have anyone that you think is worth having on your roster with the Jets to be looking forward to?
For me, not really. I mean, we listed some of the guys here, like you just ran down, and it's so hard to predict how guys will do on bad teams because there's no stableness to a bad team, and we overestimate oh, they'll be passing all the time, so maybe Quincy Enunwa will be good, or maybe Bilal Powell will catch a lot of passes. But sometimes they're just so fucking bad that they don't even have any value, at least consistently throughout the fantasy season. Yeah. So I try to avoid stuff like this, and I try to temper people's expectations with what they're saying. And we've been victims of this too in the past, but hopefully we're learning from our mistakes. At least I'd like to think so. So hopefully we can correct a few of those, at least for the Jets here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, like I said, we've talked about this. Like Bilal Powell we saw was going in the 6th round for PPR 12-team. I haven't checked today.
He still is. He's actually going on the 2nd pick in the 6th round.
Okay. So that's where he's landing. So I think we came to the consensus that that's fine. We're okay with that. He's going to be the primary guy. So that's cool. But we've also hit Matt Forte, who's in the 9th round, I believe, in.
Yeah, he's 4th pick, 9th round.
4th pick, 9th round. Okay, so I think me and you were the ones that said kind of stay away from Matt Forte, even if you see him on the 9th round, because you don't know what his longevity is going to be this season between what his real role is, him being an aged back, them kind of sucking, so why use him or waste him, I guess. I don't know. So,
yeah, it's kind of like a why bother for Matt Forte. Like for him personally, it's just like he's in the worst situation he's ever been in his career, and it sucks because he's great. And he showed he had some juice left last year, at least for the first half of the season. But now it's like I kind of hope he just gets traded, which when I was researching, I was like, man, what if Matt Forte goes to a different team like during the season? I thought that was pretty interesting to think about, which kind of makes me – I mean, it's completely out there, but if that were to happen, people that gambled on Matt Forte pretty late in the draft as kind of like a whatever flyer because he's at least guaranteed to get something, it was pretty interesting to think about, but that's extremely like more on the unlikely side than anything.
Yeah. I'm trying to see here what else is in the 9th round that, I kind of prefer over like a Matt Forte. Because he's in that.
It's going to be pretty shit for running backs, but there are some other guys like.
I think the next. He's in between. So the two running backs before him really it's Latavius Murray and Jamal Charles, which I would take those guys over him. And then you got Kenneth Dixon behind him with Baltimore, Rob Kelly, James White, Jonathan Stewart. So we're big advocates on Jonathan Stewart landing in the 9th round. We would definitely take Jonathan Stewart over him. I would take Rob Kelly or James White over Forte too. So,
yeah, at least you're getting guaranteed value with those guys. Like you'll be able to at least probably throw them in flex. I don't know about Rob Kelly yet, but some of those names for sure. Like White, he'll always have something like a flex worthy week at points. Probably more so than Matt Forte this year.
Yeah, don't get stuck on the name value of Matt Forte.
True.
Other than that, we got. So we were talking about Quincy Enunwa. What do you think about his value now that obviously Brandon Marshall's not there, Eric Decker's not there? Where do you think he lands, and what do you think his value is?
I kind of view him as like a very poor man's Pierre Garçon this season.
Okay.
Like he's the number one for sure passing threat on the team, but he's on a fucking really bad team. So it's going to be extremely volume based with him because like we said originally, if you're going to bank on them being bad, they're going to have to pass a lot. But he was going earlier than I thought he would. He's going at the end of the 9th, which I think is even too high for it's pretty late and I still think it's too high. They're going to be a complete disaster. And I don't know. I'm not really digging what he can bring to your team.
Yeah, it's just the Jets in general, man. I mean, obviously we're going to want to skip over these guys soon because it's so boring plain Jane with them because they are not good and they just have a lot of issues all together. I mean, there's really not – I mean, I really haven't seen anything about Quincy Enunwa. There's not going to be much news you're looking at. He's in the realm, like you said, at the end of that 9th round. Other receivers that are going before him and after him. You got John Brown and Corey Davis before him. I know Corey Davis is another name for Tennessee. Tennessee's kind of little with those receivers, but I still would take a Corey Davis over Quincy Enunwa. But you don't know what's going on with the Jets, the quarterback situation, everything else. Then you got Corey Coleman in Cleveland, Marvin Jones in Detroit, and Adam Thielen in Minnesota that are behind him. And I like those guys all better than him too.
Yeah, I like those guys a lot. They're in way more potent offenses, and we've seen them produce in the past. Like Enunwa was up and down last year, to say the least, and that was a pretty bad Jets team that we already saw, and they have definitely gotten worse. So he's going to have to make some plays on his own, and you're going to have to rely on a really bad quarterback to get it to him. So I'd much rather roll with any of those guys you just said.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, is there any receivers that other than Quincy Enunwa that you want to talk about with the Jets?
I was going to say Robbie Anderson did okay, but he's in jail. or he at least got arrested and was in jail. So I don't know if his status is up in the air with the team, but that's all I could think of, and it kind of sounds like an afterthought anyway.
Yes, apparently went to jail for pushing an officer at a music festival in Florida.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are we drafting Robbie Anderson?
No.
All right. Well, then I guess we don't even have to talk about the third wide receiver there because that's apparently their number 2. Quarterbacks. Looks like Josh McCown is their number 1 guy for now with the whole mess between Hackenberg and Bryce Petty. They've already talked about they don't know if the Jets are just going to bomb the season so they can draft another quarterback next season. So it's just a mess. Is Josh McCown even worth talking about?
Nah, dude. I was going to say, can we move on? We're done here.
All right, guys. We are officially moving on. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break quickly into this podcast.
We're exhausted.
We are already hitting our second portion of the podcast. So let's just go back to we want to talk about Vupiq. That's the revolutionary app that allows you to play fantasy football live while watching the game on TV predict the plays, the result of the play, and literally play fantasy football. You can sign up for the beta now by going to letstalkfantasyfootball.com/Vupiq. And we're back, Vinny, with the New England Patriots, reigning champs, with a whole lot more to talk about and a whole lot more content than the pitiful fucking Jets.
Yeah, this won't take 5 minutes.
No, I mean we can crack another beer and talk about this for another half hour here. Let's roll down now. Let's start from the main guy, Tom Brady. Obviously, always a top 5 QB for the most part for fantasy value. Had a good year last year. No suspension this year. What do you expect with Tom Brady for fantasy value? Where do you think he should go? What do you think?
I think his ADP right now is pretty much dead on. He's in the 3rd round with the 8th pick, so I like that. If you're looking to get, like, all right, when you're drafting a quarterback early, you want to at least get that top 3 that we talked about, which is Rodgers, Brady, and Breeze.
Mm-hmm.
Lock down any of those dudes in the 3rd round or earlier, and I say earlier, but probably 3rd round is the ideal spot. So I like that. And you're pretty much locking in a top 5 quarterback. So I have no problem with that. You know what you're getting. Solid output every week. He really didn't perform poorly at all last year after suspension. I think he really only played bad against the Seahawks and the Broncos, and that's weeks when you expect not too much out of him. So that was, he's Tom Brady. He's fine.
Yeah, I think it's actually funny that we decided to pair these two teams together, the AFC East, on this podcast, because I think it's the exact opposite of the Jets.
Yes, very much.
They have the best coach with the greatest system, and they have all the pieces, and they've got the quarterback, right? So I spoke on a few podcasts before where this year I kind of like value, and I was talking about maybe value of quarterbacks going a little bit higher when it's the top guys, the top tiers, which is Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. I think you can reach a little earlier on them, or for us, our sake, because we always talk down on quarterbacks. So where they are landing is where I would possibly take them this year. So I'd be cool with Tom Brady because I think the value starts to fall off after these top tier guys. And I also think it's funny is that of the 3 of them, 2 of them are 38 and like 40, which is pretty funny. So
they know what they're doing,
but they've consistently performed. Not just on the field, but obviously for fantasy football. Sometimes it's always hard finding that consistent quarterback. So these guys are worth the pickup, especially this year, with so many other uncertainties between the receiving and running back this year. But Tom Brady, man, I'm cool with him. He falls at that, especially in a 12 team, around the end of the 3rd round. I'd be cool with Tom Brady right there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty dead on.
Absolutely. The next big guy that they always talk about, Gronk.
The Gronk. Dude,
a lot of question marks around Gronk, though.
But why? Hurt. Like, I'm usually, like, not down with taking tight end early, but this is the latest we've seen Gronk go in a couple of years. It's got me a little excited.
What's his ADP, then?
10th pick, 2nd round.
Yeah, that is the latest.
Yeah, but he's usually a first rounder, or at least at the turn for the 1st and 2nd round usually. So this is, last couple of years, the latest we've seen him go. So
you're comfortable with taking Gronk as, say, you're in even a 10 team, 10th in the 2nd round or whatever. You're comfortable with taking him if you're in the back end of the 2nd round?
Yeah, like I say that now, but you know how we don't like doing that, like pulling the trigger on tight end early. But I think Gronk is worth it. I think anyone that does that is pretty justified. His new contract is all set up with incentives, like to play a full season, to score a lot of touchdowns, to get a lot of yards. Obviously, that's easy to say he's going to do, but it's Gronk. We've seen him do it every time he's been healthy. So it's really just the risk factor is all health-based. Yeah. So if you're taking that leap of faith with Gronk, it's the latest he's ever gone. I think it's a value at this point. It's I think another dead-on ADP and pretty valuable too.
I've never owned Gronk, and I probably never will. I'm not willing to drop my 2nd round pick on Rob Gronkowski, even though it's the back end of the 2nd round. So if you're the back end of the 2nd round, you're following up on the 3rd round. But to me, that's not worth it. I think the tight end pool is just a little bit more rich. I know we're big on, if you guys have been following us for the past few years, tight end roulette. But I mean, I think it's a little bit more rich this year. I mean, your second tight end is between Travis Kelce and Jordan Reed, which those guys are studs. But I think you can even fall into the next, tier of Greg. There's Greg Olsen. Jimmy Graham looks back to form. Tyler Eifert's a stud in Bengals, and he should be healthy. And then Delaney Walker's been solid for the past few years. And then I'm higher up on Martellus Bennett because I think he's going to have a great year in Green Bay, and he's the 8th tight end going off, and he's going at the end of the 7th. That's a whole 5 rounds later. And for the uncertainty of Rob Gronkowski being hurt all the time, you can go 5 rounds later and get a Delaney Walker, a Tyler Eifert, Delaney Walker, Martellus Bennett, and still get – that's a good tight end 1 value where you're going to get consistent play every week. Because I know a big thing with our tight end roulette is there's not a lot of tight ends, and then you have that inconsistent play where you're just playing matchups where these guys you can. And then you got Kyle Rudolph as your 9th one, which is fine, kind of touchdown dependent. But then Hunter Henry's had a lot of great flashes too with Phillip Rivers in LA, and he's the number 10 tight end. And he's going in the middle of the 9th round. So I can't justify going Rob Gronkowski at the end of the 2nd round.
Yeah, that was a pretty fair rant, Don. You're making me feel like shit now.
Usually my rants aren't fair.
No, that one made sense. Full sentences. You had it all.
Yeah, I mean,
good points.
Yeah, I mean, Shrek's normally looking at me on a Google chat, like, give me the finger, like, hurry up, Don, like, shut the hell up. But I appreciate that, Ben. Thanks, man.
Shrek isn't here tonight, man. It's just me and you, buddy, and we're rocking the podcast.
Whoa. Internet problems, man. Problems.
His internet problems, sure, whatever. Shrek didn't want to hang out with us tonight. That's fine. But you have it here. I'm a big fan of Gronk. Don is a big fan of a lot of the other tight ends going after in the probably 6th to 9th round, right, Don?
Yeah, I just think it's more logical. I think you could get your bigger players in those front end of the round, and then worry about a tight end. And I mean, the next 5 rounds, you have these guys that are number 1 tight ends that have big roles with their teams.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So basically, 2nd round too pricey for a tight end.
Yeah.
No matter who it is.
It's just not And when we were doing articles on the website before we stopped doing that because we're too lazy, / we don't have time. One of my articles was Jimmy Graham's value when he was, they were debating him or Rob to go for, first tight end off the board. I was like, dude, there's no way that I'm going to take Jimmy Graham at like the end of the 1st round or beginning 2nd. And I was getting ripped on. But then look what happened. It's not what. No. Like actually, someone actually read the article outside of LTFF, which is crazy too.
Yeah, right.
They're like, Don, you're an idiot. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But anyway, bottom line, that's our thoughts on Gronk there. Newest addition, and one of my favorites for the past few years, Mr. Brandon Cooks.
Yeah. I know you're excited, Don. You love Brandon Cooks.
Well, I haven't said anything yet this year, but you go ahead, and then I'll follow on that.
I'm just trying not to get too excited. It's Tom Brady getting a new plaything in the offense, and it's not. It's just he's boomer bust. Like he was boomer bust with Drew Brees, who I think has a better deep ball than Tom Brady. I think I could say that.
Oh well, absolutely.
Yeah, and I can't. It's his ADP is 2nd pick, 3rd round. I can't justify doing that for a boomer bust guy. He's got like I'd rather have Deshaun Jackson, who's going way later. Same kind of threat, a little older, obviously, but I just they're very comparable, and I think people are kind of forgetting that Brandon Cooks disappears in games sometimes, and it's a really heavy price to pay for like name value for one, Brandon Cooks, and team value of the Patriots being so good. So I think people are overlooking a lot of stuff, especially his fucking price. That is huge to pay. I'd rather have a lot of guys that might shock a lot of people. Like I'd rather have Demaryius Thomas. I'd rather wait for like Terrell Pryor later, stuff like that. I'd like Doug Baldwin, of course, who's actually going before him, but just getting like the idea of the dudes that are going around him. We'll see, I think, way more target volume. And I think they'll be more involved in the offense, which is weird to say, but Brandon Cooks is already plugged into that oversaturated Patriots offense. So it's too pricey for me. I like Brandon Cooks as a player. It's just not fantasy friendly right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll play devil's advocate. And I think it's funny because you just said, people get caught up on the name of Brandon Cooks, and that's why they have the value. It's kind of funny, though, because we've seen Brandon Cooks really not do anything that valuable fantasy-wise in the past 2 years, and he already has that big name because of his talent, right?
It's talent, and he's a week winner. He will go the fuck off. I'm not saying he will do that a couple times this year, and he'll win people weeks. But you don't pay for like a boomer bust guy that early. And
it's funny because I'm known for my only liking players that are consistent, but I've always liked Brandon Cooks. And he's burned me. He burned me last year in a few leagues. Well, luckily, they were leagues that I really didn't care as much about that I had him in. But I'll play devil's advocate in the sense of because I've had him every year, I've kind of watched Drew Brees always kind of falls in love with another guy all the time and always kind of left Brandon Cooks out there. But I think with the Brady and the Patriots, it's almost going to have like it's their first like almost like Randy Moss type player where it's just this deep route guy because you got Julian Edelman, that's your slot player, and then you had Gronk, who especially if Gronk gets hurt, which always happens, I think that opens a lot for Brandon Cooks. And who you were referencing for wide receivers is fine, depending on what your draft strategy is. So you were talking about you would rather have a Deshaun Jackson who goes much later, right? And then you said Doug Baldwin, who's one before him. But then you said I'd rather have a Terrell Pryor and wait a few rounds. But you just skipped a whole bunch of people that are in that bracket of after Brandon Cooks. You got DeAndre Hopkins, who had a bad year last year because his quarterback was horrible. Osweiler was a piece of shit. I hate him. So I feel bad, but hey, listen, Deshaun Watson comes in. DeAndre Hopkins, even if Savage plays, he's going to play better than he did last year, and that wasn't his fault. But then you got Demaryius Thomas, who didn't have a horrible year, but it's not almost like his upside's not going to be as high this year because, again, we know what the quarterback plays. Then you got Keenan Allen, and I love Keenan Allen. But, again, he's been hurt 2 seasons in a row. Then it's Allen Robinson, who disappeared last year. Then we got Alshon Jeffrey that's in Philly. So and then you said Terrell Pryor, and then after that, Sammy Watkins. So look at all these question marks that are right there. If you're going to go for the risk and you need a wide receiver at that point because maybe you went running back and quarterback, running back, tight end, and you need a receiver, Brandon Cooks would be your guy there. So, Vin, if you already had 2 receivers, I could understand that and say, I'm not going to – why take the bet when I could just get my third receiver as Terrell Pryor or my second receiver as that. But as a number – he's still probably one of the more prominent number 1 receivers to put in there. So,
yeah, I'm just seeing Cooks as like a number 2 for your fantasy team, and he's going around a bunch of 1s. Like everybody you ran off is definitely a 1 in their offense and a 1 in fantasy football. So I'd rather much focus on a lot of those other guys, maybe nitpick like Allen Robinson out of there. Hopkins is a fucking toss for me. So I'm not saying like, man, you're kind of twisting me up, Don.
I'm not trying to twist you up. And to be honest with you, if I drafted, right, and Brandon Cooks was my number 1 receiver, I'm not leaving that draft feeling good.
No, definitely.
I don't because of the past. Now I'm not saying that upside is not there, but again, you look at where it kind of drops to. You gotta understand that. So this is something. Again, this is why we mock. This is what we look at. Where your next tier is. It starts to drop into a lot of uncertainties that next level until you start talking about. I'd rather have a Terrell Pryor because then you start getting into the Jarvis Landrys, the Devontae Adams, the Tyreek Hill, Michael Crabtree, the Martavis Bryant. That's a good section right there.
Yeah, for sure.
So it all depends on where you're drafting, what your strategy is, but that one round before that is a whole lot of uncertainty. So if you're still looking for like a number 1 receiver, you drafted running back heavy first. I think there's a lot more upside to Brandon Cooks in the Patriots offense than, believe it or not, than with Drew Brees in the Saints. That's just how I feel.
I think we disagree, Don, but that's okay.
No,
that's what it's all about.
Content, guys. Believe it or not, you're getting some content out of the podcast.
I guess so.
Never again.
Probably, yeah. We'll probably do it soon. So,
yeah, man.
You know, it's done. It's inevitable, man.
Well, it is.
We're gonna do this forever.
We don't hate it. It's just kind of like when everyone else bails and they're just like, shit. All right, it's you too. It's the Voncast.
It's a trick.
Good luck to all the listeners.
Oh boy.
We should actually stop putting in the title though, the Voncast, because I think we start losing views.
Yeah.
Like we should trick them to not the Voncast, and then when they open up, they're just like, oh fuck, the Voncast, but it's open now. So
guess I have to listen to all 2 hours of it. Moving on. Man, we talked about Brandon Cooks for so long, and like 20 other receivers.
Yeah, Just cooking up, man.
Hey, let's talk about another receiver, Julian Edelman.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Don? Because he's going late, I think, for Julian Edelman. 4th pick, 5th round. Always been Tom Brady's dude. Usually when Gronk goes down, he excels, but he's still an integral part of their offense.
Yeah.
He had, 98 catches last year, and Brady missed 4 games, so the upside of having Tom Brady for a full year is on his side for sure. Do you his touchdowns weren't great either. That was another thing I want to talk about. He had 3.
Right.
Over and under 3.5 touchdowns for Edelman this year.
I think over this year.
I agree. I'm thinking somewhere like 5 at least.
Maybe more.
Possibly more. But yeah, I think it's justified, and I think it's kind of leaning out for Edelman to be a value in drafts, going like kind of in the middle of the 5th round.
Yeah, I mean, the funniest thing too is it's not just really receivers that take away touchdowns from Julian Edelman. It's like the James Whites that take away touchdowns because they love their little and they just love their pass catching running backs like all the time. James White and D.O.N.
Lewis,
my man, thank you.
You got it.
So these are guys that take away from it too. So the funny thing with Julian Edelman is I've actually never owned Julian Edelman in any league ever. So I always don't know how to really grade Julian Edelman because I'm always watching him this guy's really good, but I never know how to judge his fantasy value. But where he's landing, like you said, is the fourth pick in the 5th round, which I'm cool with because he's right after that realm of where we talked about. If you want to wait a little bit and you hit the Jarvis Landry, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Michael Crabtree, Martavis
He's
Bryant.
he's at the bottom of that list,
and then he's
said.
right after it, yeah. Because then it's Golden Tate, which I would take Julian Edelman over Golden Tate this year
for sure.
And then it's Larry Fitzgerald, Jameson Crowder, Brandon Marshall, Willie Snead. And I would take Julian Edelman over those guys too.
Yeah, so, I think you have to. Don, like you said, you haven't owned him. When I had him for 1 year, and it was pretty much you loved him 1 week, and then he got you a mediocre week, but he never duds on you. Very rarely. I know everyone will have their shit game, but very rare. He was pretty consistent, which you love.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly, which is funny. And then especially with PPR, if you're in a PPR league too.
Yes, absolutely.
That's where his value goes up more as well. Because, again, he might not get all the yards or the touchdowns, but he's going to get a lot of passes thrown to him. That's Brady's guy. So I like him where he lands. I mean, I would say that whole 4th round receivers are a really good value. If you're going to go receivers, I think the 4th round is a good time to go snagging receivers as well.
It's interesting too
because there in the 5th.
We could probably do this in another podcast, but when you're looking at the 4th round, that's probably going to be the round that fucks a lot of people up because I think that's kind of a get your guy round, and people will start taking outside of ADPs or whatever you're looking at. So be wary of the 4th because there are some preference players out there that are definitely going there.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that though too, when you're doing draft strategy as well, if you're one of those that wants to go receiver heavy, like a lot of us wanted to do last year, just remember there is that 4th round of some really good receivers. So maybe if you want to get top tier running back before that, you got some hope here in that 4th round.
Yeah, and if you miss out, Julian Edelman will bail you the fuck out in the 5th.
Yes, before everyone else starts getting shitty.
Exactly. Moving on to the other receivers, I don't think we really need to talk about them other than mention their names and they exist. Chris Hogan, Malcolm Mitchell, Danny Amendola. They added Andrew Hawkins, which I thought was interesting, but he'll probably get cut or something or play special teams. But those dudes are there, and I think the only one getting drafted is Hogan, way late. Yeah. He's basically free.
Yeah, they like Hogan, and they always talk him up, so I think and I think he's one of the last receivers to be grabbed, and it's the very end of the 14th round, which is fine if you want to go a flyer, especially with health issues on the Patriots between the Gronk and possibly Edelman, and Amendola is always hurt. So Chris Hogan can get value. They like him a lot. So if you want a flyer,
cool, you're not paying shit. And then there'll always be some kind of Malcolm Mitchell truth. They're expecting him to have a huge breakthrough season. So do whatever you want. It's the fucking 14th round. You can do whatever.
Yeah.
This is the confusing part, Don. The Patriots backfield.
Well, I want to hear what you think because you're always the one talking about the fuckery.
It is a fuckery.
It is a fuckery.
It's a fuckery. It's a mockery. It's disgusting. Bill Belichick hates us. But, dude, they added – well, yeah, let's go through it. Let's go through it nice and slow.
Is it you that put the fuck, marry, and kill with the running backs?
It's kill, fuck, marry, kill because there's 4 of them. So we could play, Don.
Oh, shit.
You can go first. All right.
All right, fine.
Kill, fuck, marry, or kill. Mike Gillislee, D.O.N. Lewis, James White, Rex Burkhead. Go, Don.
I'm killing Rex Burkhead.
Good for you. I'll hop. We'll play together, Don. Let's play together.
And then I will. Ooh, I think I will. I don't know. I'm in between. I think I'll fuck Mike Gillislee.
See, I'm going to split with you there, Don.
And I was going to go marry Mike Gillislee because I think
I'm killing him.
Oh, you're killing Mike Gillislee.
Yeah, I'm going to try and kill this hype. I do not. I don't like the hype that he's getting because people think he's going to jump right in and play the blunt role.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be fucking round robin. I think D.O.N. Lewis and James White are the ones that are going to be catching all the passes and everything. And I just don't trust them to run their offense with a blunt-like person without blunt.
Well, see, that's where I agree. But I'm saying fuck him and not marry him because I think Mike Gillislee is going to start off hot, and then Belichick's going to do his like wizardry, and then be like, and just completely shun him for no reason, and then it's going to be all the rest of these guys running around. So
that's why I'm killing him. I don't want to feel the joy.
I just want to bag him, tag him, and get rid of him, So. Mike Gillislee have him for a few weeks and then see you later because your value's going down. And then I'll marry – believe it or not, James White I'll marry.
Yeah, I was going to marry James White and I was going to fuck D.O.N. Lewis because –
Interesting.
Yeah, D.O.N. Lewis will get you a couple –
He's fuckable.
Yeah, exactly. Very fuckable. He'll get you those bang-bang weeks and you'll be like, thanks, D.O.N. Lewis, but, I'm going to do something else the next couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to kill D.O.N. Lewis because you just don't know with, his health too – it's not a major concern because it was just 1 year, but I think they really like James White, and I think that's going to push D.O.N. Lewis out, and it's going to be the James White, Mike Gillislee show.
Combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's always fuckery, so we're not sure.
There's a lot of fuckery.
I think we're agreeing that James White is probably the safest out of the 4 here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I mean.
Yeah, how
Gillislee's going high, if that's what you're wondering.
No, actually.
ADP.
But why don't you go over that because that's fantasy content first, and then I'll tell you what I was wondering
something
about.
Something not fantasy relevant?
Let's get a little relevant with everyone here since they already heard who we're going to kill, fuck, marry, and kill.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll just go through all of them with their ADPs, and then we can just further discuss who we're going to fuck, kill, marry, and fuck. Oh, sorry, kill twice.
Yeah. There's 4 of them.
Right.
You can only keep 2.
Mike Gillislee, 5th pick, 6th round. D.O.N. Lewis, 8th pick, 13th round. James White, 12th pick, 9th round. Rex Burkhead, 2nd pick, 14th. So Mike Gillislee, pretty pricey in the middle of the 6th.
Yeah.
D.O.N. Lewis, pretty cheap for where you get him, basically free. Rex Burkhead also basically free. And James White is sitting at the value point around the 10th round.
Mm-hmm. Which is fine. Especially, again, another person that's got added PPR value. I kind of just want to go into this because we've tailed off. Actually, first, before I lose my thought there, what I was thinking about is so I feel like Shrek every time the Voncast happens is like, what am I going to open up to and what do I have to edit? I feel like once he hits this point, he's going to be like, oh my God, I don't even have enough bleeps to bleep out what the fuck they just did.
He might. He's probably the segment.
He might not this might not even be posted.
This might get cut, and we just never talked about the backfield. So
it's good content, though. Keep it, Shrek. We're a little controversial here, but going back to where we're at. So the 6th round, right? So because a 6th round where we talked about Bilal Powell, and that's where you're saying Mike Gillislee is. Yeah. So to give everyone a idea of where everyone else lands there. So you're looking at the last 2 in the 5th round. So the 8th and 9th pick in the 5th round, Amir Abdullah, C.J. Anderson. Beginning of the 6th round is Danny Woodhead, Tevin Coleman, LeGarrette Blount, Bilal Powell, then Mike Gillislee. Then it hits your boy Dalvin Cook, I know you and Shrek like him a lot. And then,
stop it.
Paul Perkins at the end of the 6th.
Okay, so it is kind of a mess there, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I could see why he's going there.
This makes me just like want to go running back early.
Yeah, no, I think we've covered that multiple times.
I think we've like found our strategy of running back a little early, find a little bit of value in the 4th round receivers. I think we're helping you guys out already. Fuck the 6th round of running backs.
Yeah, it's not cool. So all right, I feel a little bit better knowing after reading those guys off.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I would play on Mike Gillislee over Bilal Powell or Dalvin Cook or definitely Paul Perkins.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I would just look to a different position. Like that's when you were talking about the tight ends that are going around there. There's a ton of wide receivers still going around there. So depending on what you're trying to do with running back, clearly Mike Gillislee has the upside.
Or what you have.
Right. Yeah.
Because it gets kind of gets Lucha over here, a little Lucci.
It does get a little Lucci done. So basically you're taking him for the sure leap of faith that he will be LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, or you can wait all the way to now because Jonathan Stewart's the 2nd pick of the 10th round.
Right. Well, we're all about Jonathan Stewart.
So, I don't know, Mike Gillislee, it's up to you. I'm okay with the mid 6th round because that seems to be the flyer round of running backs. But as Vinny always says every year, it really is. It's a fuckery. You never know what Belichick's going with. One, he's always quick to put someone in the doghouse if they fuck up once. 2, he's always doing something new with a different running back all the time. He has Deion Lewis that he really liked for a long time, and he might get thrown in there where you probably shouldn't kill him. And then you got James White, who I think is probably going to be your most appealing to marry because I think he'll probably be the most consistent of all. So, but again, it's always a toss-up with their backfield.
Yes. Be wary, everyone.
Be wary is right. With that said, Vin, do you have anything else with the Patriots?
Real quick, just to mention, we don't have to get into it because we're wrapping up here, but D.O.N. Allen is on the team.
Oh, is he?
Yes, but I figured since Gronk is, D.O.N. Allen might be a thing if Gronk goes down. Let's just say that.
So would you be cool with grabbing D.O.N. Allen as a handcuff if you pick up Gronk?
No, God, no. Dude, I don't even like handcuffing running backs, let alone to tight end.
Yeah, but we've seen it work, especially with Martellus Bennett. If you had Gronk,
that didn't really work.
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't great either.
Yeah, D.O.N. Allen's not that bad of a tight end though. But again,
no, he's not.
I'll stick to what I and listen. You can play the tight end roulette at that point, but I'll stick to what I spoke about earlier, and the only rant that Vinny approves of with the tight ends. That there is a lot of good tight ends this year, or more playable tight ends, and with that have more of a role play with their teams, and you don't really have to worry about going for those good bottom barrel guys or going really high for Gronk. So, but with that being said, we're going to close up the first part of the AFC East preview. It's been the fucking Voncast. You're all welcome, especially you, Shrek. I hope you get that internet back up soon. With that being said, make sure to get the apps. Let's Talk FantasyFootball.com/Apple. Or letstalkfantasyfootball.com/Android. Review us on iTunes. Give us 5 stars, 1 star, especially if you're rating me. Most importantly, start mocking, especially what we've talked about with where the value is going. Check that out. And what we'll have next is the Patriots and Bills coming up in the part 2.
Dolphins.
Oh, that's right. We changed it up. The Dolphins and Bills. We wanted to make it a little bit more interesting because the Dolphins and the Jets would have been fucking boring. With that being said, Finny, we'll see you on the second part. I am the D.O.N., and we will catch you on the flip side.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.